Hi, folks. Welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Joining me in studio for the first time is my new colleague, Becky Graham. Becky, welcome. Thanks so much for being here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
All right, awesome. Becky, we're going to get her to tell us a little bit about herself. Also, we have a Hangout going on, which you're welcome to join or watch if it fills up. In the Hangout, we have not Chris Turner. I apologize. First, I told you I was having an ADD moment. What is it, Bruce?
It's Bruce Turner.
Bruce Turner from Lynchburg, Virginia. Also, we have Chris Pirillo, who's what website are you, Chris? Now I can't. Is it? I think I know, but I don't want to say. Just Google him. He's on. You know.
No, I'm on the. I'm from the internet.
He is the internet. And then we have Anthony up top there, Anthony Klauser, who's got even worse lighting than Chris.
I turned I've got the screen illumination going on. At least you can see a human form here.
I think it's pretty awesome, actually. Yeah.
It's to hide all the junk behind me.
Awesome. Well, we have had an incredibly fun and eventful time with Google Plus this week, and one of the things I want to talk about what's new, and then also Becky, who's with me, this is her first time on it. She joined last night. I asked her to join, and she did, and she set up a profile, and so I want to get her reaction as a brand new user. She's not a tech geek. I mean, she's a Mac person, and she wasn't a huge Facebook user, but she had Twitter. She had a Facebook page, but she's not a super social person or internet type person like Chris or I would be, or some of the other folks here. And I got an issue. I apologize. I got to postpone this because it was about to do a tune-up on the main broadcast computer, which would have been a disaster. So anyway, all right. So let's talk about Chris. What do you think? We were all kind of blindsided, I guess, in a great way. What did you think about the new features that have just hit Hangouts and Google Plus in general?
You know, of course, it's not a surprise. Google has been iterating with Google Plus very regularly. I would go as far as to say something new has come about every week, at least. You may not see every particular change, but as a matter of fact, this is the first Hangout I have launched that has Hangouts with extras. That's what they say. And as you noted, when you're first signing on to the Hangout and it says you have extras, this is available for a limited time, which is a little weird to see. Why would it be a limited time? It may be that they would plan to charge for the extras. It could be available just for certain users, not all users. But I don't know why it would be available for a limited time. They didn't just say beta. So we may have to expect that parts of it will disappear or possibly become a part of a subscription service. Because some of the features here in the Hangout that now exist that were different from earlier versions. Now you can hover over a thumbnail, get a person's name. You can share your screen or different apps on the screen, which is definitely more of a business type of model rather than a personal model. You've got the ability to, you've got thumbnails in the chat session. You've got the ability to share notes or a sketch pad. These aren't, I would say, Hangout features that interpersonal communications would necessarily benefit from, likely businesses would benefit from. So if it was available for a limited time, it would, I'd imagine, become a part of some kind of subscription plan. It's a complete guess. I'm not privy to any information, but it's cool to see.
I was thinking the same thing. I was wondering if it was a question of capacity or if it was a question of whether they wanted to treat certain folks like if will.i.am does it or you do it, that it might be featured somewhere on the site, but if they open up to everybody, then maybe they want. I don't know, but I'm thinking it's more business friendly. I mean, this is the kind of thing if you wanted to have, like at your business, Chris, if you wanted to have a meeting with your colleagues. Not even to be broadcast, just a private business meeting, and one guy's in L.A. and you're in New York or whatever, that this would be something you could use, sort of like an alternative to GoTo meeting.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I don't know if they're necessarily going after the same market with that, but it would be a possibility. One way to monetize where Google has not effectively shown where they're going to monetize Plus in any capacity. The one thing that I wish that Hangouts had, whether it was this type of Hangout or beyond, is the ability to record. and Google has already kind of come out and said we don't plan on adding that feature, likely because of security or safety reasons. Not everybody would expect that they were going to be recorded. But I've certainly recorded, bless you, I've certainly recorded, screencasts of Google Hangouts before, and it works. It would just be nicer to be able to press a button and have it recorded remotely and then picked up remotely. I don't think it's going to happen, though.
Yeah, I hear you. Bruce, what do you think about the...
Yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with what Chris is saying. I mean, some of these features are much more enterprise than they are interpersonal. I know I manage a remote sales team, and I can see all kinds of opportunity. We do a weekly team meeting right now. I have Skype Premium. We do that, but you can't share your screen or share an app when you're doing multiple videos on Skype. But with these features, you could do all that. I'm also kind of wondering, now that they've added this on-air feature, where other people, more than 10, can come in and view and listen to this, and now that they've opened up Google Plus to everybody, I wonder if there's some scalability issues there. I know they've been, I think they're, I'm not sure exactly what process they're using for the video as far as codec and things like that, but maybe just an issue of seeing how much they can do with this. And I don't know if they've settled in on this particular program. I mean, right now, Chris's video, your video, just really looks great, and of course, we've all got good bandwidth, and even that smile, very nice.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, we have a caller, and I just want to mention you can also call the show just with audio, and the number there is 818-688-6625. Who do we have from 609?
Hey, this is Antonio.
Antonio, how you doing? Antonio's a philosopher enthusiast. And he was on the show last week, and we're going to talk a little bit about trying to prevent or thwart discrimination on Google Plus in a little bit. So anyway, yeah, if you'd like to join, our number's on the screen. You can either, you can either chat in the Justin TV chat room, you can call us on the phone, 818-688-6625, or you can join our Hangout. We still have spaces available. Chris hasn't kicked everybody out. Chris, somebody muted me last week. Daniel Bowie in Vancouver muted me. And I'm hosting the show, and it's my own Hangout.
Can you kick people out yet?
I actually don't have access to a computer. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. No, we like it. I mean, I pay monthly for this audio thing, so bring it. That's great. Yeah, that's funny. I can't believe you muted me. You can kick people out now, even out of a regular Hangout. I think.
Oh,
can't
I think
you?
we just got muted again.
Did I get muted? No, he's muted.
Oh.
No, we can hear you.
They're muting everyone.
Oh.
Chris is just. Or I guess you can mute yourself if you're, want to cough or something.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, Anthony, what do you think about the new features?
The last couple of weeks I really haven't had much to say. And right now, I'm just here for the other people, I guess.
All right, that's cool. No problem. Yeah, you.
We're on the same page here, Anthony.
Yeah, let me get Becky real quick to do a quick little bio. You're a TV reporter. Tell us where and how you've left it all to be on a tech show.
All right. So my background is in television news reporting, and I was a reporter in Evansville, Indiana. That's southern Indiana, and the Kentucky area, also Illinois, and basically I just did general assignment reporting, but definitely integrated social media into, I guess, our daily kind of beat system and such. So I had a lot of interaction with Twitter. Actually, we had a number of tweets we had to do a day as part of our kind of contract deal there, and some Facebook work. But, I really did enjoy Twitter a lot because I could be really brief and to the point, especially on breaking news scenes where, you can take that twit pic or whatever and you can send it back to the station and they can put it up on the internet. So, Dan tells me that this Google Plus is the best of Facebook and Twitter. So I'm kind of excited to delve in and see what kind of things it has going for probably somebody like me who's in news, and how it can contribute and make that process maybe easier. So
now I want to ask you, because as I said earlier, I kind of coached you into signing up. I said, well, wasn't even a user, and I said, well, let's do our first show, Google Plus Week, because a lot of us are curious how it looks to new people coming in now, because so many new people Chris, I don't know how many ads you've had. I've had more lately than ever.
Yep.
And new folks, and not the tech geeks like us who were on it first, but regular folks, the soccer moms, the grandparents are joining, just regular folks who aren't all about tech. And you can see the streams are changing a little bit, and I think it's great. It's a big tent, but you just signed up, and I was explaining about how the circles work and all that stuff. So tell me what do you think so far, and what has surprised you, or what are you curious about?
Well, I definitely liked the circle option because obviously being in the business that I was in, you don't want to share certain pieces of information, especially your personal life, with a lot of people, but you still want to have the relationship with those people. So I like the fact that you could put people in different circles, colleagues in one, family in another, and when you put in those updates, they only go to that certain group of individuals. So I think that's definitely beneficial. As for some of the other features, I haven't really delved in yet, but it was really easy to find some people that I knew on this. When I searched, I was kind of overwhelmed about how many people, popped up, especially people I knew. And I like the fact that it's linked to my Gmail account, so I can access those people quickly too. I like that it's kind of hooked up to everything really in Gmail. So, yeah, that was just really easy and pretty user-friendly. And for somebody who's not a techie like me, it's easier for, when things are made easy, it makes me want to use it more. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's I'm excited because they did this right before, and then or at the same time, the same day they announced that they were opening it up to everybody, and then this is all right before. I don't think you think it's Chris. Do you think it's convenient timing or just a odd coincidence that right before F8, the Facebook developers conference, that they would open up Google Plus and
of course, but it's timing. Yes, it's timing. Everything's timing. Facebook and Google are two completely different types of services, but you can bet that Google's going to give Facebook a run for its money. Facebook's actually getting to the point where it's frightening me. There have been a few people. Well, first of all, congratulations to Facebook for launching MySpace yesterday. I think they're to be congratulated for the work they did on reinventing the wheel. But to I guess qualify that statement a bit further, what Facebook's doing is likely a better implementation of what had been done before. So now you can track your whole life in Facebook, which is their world, their version of the internet, and that's kind of frightening to me, given Facebook's wishy-washy stance on privacy in general. I do not feel that any of my data is my data when it's on Facebook. Not that I feel that it's any more secure on Google+, but at least Google's taking, from the very beginning and taking a good approach on data liberation. They've been very forthcoming about that, as well as tying accounts into an actual identity. And some people have lambasted Google for doing that, but I actually applaud them. I think it's long overdue. Facebook, on the other hand, granted they rule the world right now, but most of that world also uses Google to search for things. With social becoming increasingly relevant in terms of search, Google really is starting to turn to Google Plus, or will continue on an increasing basis, turning to Google Plus to help qualify search results, which will and should throw traditional SEO practices right out the window. And I've described this a few different ways on how this might unfold and will likely unfold. But you can expect to see a hell of a lot more releases from Google Plus that seem dramatic in step with new releases from Facebook's camp.
I agree. I think. Do you remember the story that came out? It was there was a newspaper that was abandoning its print edition, and it was or a blog. It was abandoning. It was a popular blog somewhere in Maryland, and they were abandoning it to publish solely and exclusively on Facebook. And at the time, I thought that was crazy. Because you're just limiting, and I forget, the guy who designs the backbone of some of our websites quoted somebody, I can't remember, but it was a great quote. He said, "You really should. Your site is your home page. That's your home, and all these other places you really should aggregate to, because social, as MySpace showed, these things come and go, MySpace was hot just a few years ago. Facebook came out of nowhere, bam, and now Google Plus has come out of nowhere, bam. And we don't know what things. Whatever's hot in 3 years may not have even been invented yet, or thought about yet. But I'm wondering. I mean, this seems like a real game changer. That I guess the Washington Post and some other things are going to be on there. Chris, do you?
What's a game changer?
I agree with you. The game changer. Some of the publishing that's going to be done. That these folks putting their whole content out there. I guess the Washington Post and who else is doing it on Facebook.
It's just stupid. It's monumentally stupid.
What do you think the rationale is, other than getting some buzz? Because I don't see how they're going to monetize it. Everyone sticks with our newspapers. I got 3 newspapers. We take the PDF of the paper, I load it into a script viewer, and you can download the PDF if you wish. And then if you buy an ad, for Pirillo's cleaning service on page 6, if you look at it online, you're still there. I'm not going to screw you online, right? Because very few of these papers are actually earning a profit with their websites. They're there because they have to be, because everyone else is, they think.
Right.
Am I wrong?
I wouldn't say you're incorrect. That's for sure.
What do you think about the timeline, that whole thing?
We all have to adapt. I create content too, but we all have to adapt to the changing landscape of the internet and the nature of news in general, and not adapting to it is dangerous. Moving your entire infrastructure to somebody else's infrastructure is probably just as dangerous. You're crazy. That's the bottom line. You're crazy.
Yeah, I think so. All right. So I guess the other thing, are they? You said, and Tom from MySpace said this. Maybe you were one of the folks who was talking to him about it. That this the new Facebook is like the Google, or is like the MySpace of 2008. And I see mixed at first as these things were unleashed. The people were freaking out. It's like if you mention me in a post or send me a message, that was kind of being. Or mention me specifically or tag me, that was treated the same as you uploaded a picture of your cat, which may or may not be as interesting to me. And so it's like you had to wade through 85 different things to get to the relevant stuff, and everything was weighted equally. And a lot of it, as I just haven't figured it out yet. But what do you think? I'm seeing from Joe Public kind of a very negative reaction from a lot of folks. But then I'm seeing some of these folks who have played with this timeline, your life portrait feature. At least the last few years of it, are saying that this is revolutionary. Do you think it's sort of the Facebook fanboys, or what?
Yeah, it may be evolutionary. I wouldn't say it's necessarily revolutionary. I haven't tried it yet. I know there's a way to turn it on by creating kind of a developer account and saying you're going to develop for it, even if you're not. But it's different. Is it different enough to capture my mom's attention? I don't know. A timeline of my life, it's kind of creepy. I don't know. Maybe it's nice, but I don't feel like I have control of it. I feel Facebook has control of it.
Have you seen the commercial, the Google Chrome commercial, where he creates the Gmail account for his baby daughter, and over time he is sending her emails, so when she turns 18 or whatever, he'll show her But that's kind of what this timeline reminds me of. You can create it for someone that is not old enough to use Facebook, and you'll have the life history on Facebook, and then when they're old enough to take it over, they can decide if they want to take it over or not, I guess. That's what comes to mind when I see it. It reminds me exactly of that Gmail commercial.
Well, I never saw the Gmail commercial.
And a lot of us haven't played with the timeline, so it's kind of premature for us to judge it so harshly. But yeah, it looks to me like what they're going to do is they're trying to say they're trying to get to be the destination for everything, especially for content like your newspaper and everything. The Skype thing. They're just trying to make it more of a general destination, which is kind of the opposite of what Google's done, where they have been a sort of a general destination for all these different disparate products, and Google Plus is sort of a way to tie them all together, but really just sort of filling that gap that they've tried a few times in the past with limited or poor success, and finally they've hit something. And I think you think you're going to see? Are we going to have a backlash, Chris, or anybody in the Hangout? Are we going to have a backlash? Folks upset about Facebook right at the time that Google Plus opens up to everybody?
I don't think so. One of the things, I watched the entire F8 Dev conference and the presentations and all that, and I was listening to, it's great. You'll be able to know what books your friends are reading, what movies they're watching, what music they're listening to with Spotify and RDO and all this. And I find myself thinking, my dad used to say there's a tool for every job. Now, we leverage Facebook, and now we're trying to leverage Google Plus, for our business. It's a great way to generate leads and things like that. But I'm wondering, how much margin do I have? My first introduction to Facebook was I started, meeting a bunch of friends that I went to college with. And then it was Miami Norland Senior High School, and, started hanging out with those. And then it was Parkway Junior High School. And then, believe it or not, it was Scott Lake Elementary School. Do I have the time to invest in following all this information and people and miss living local, with my wife and children and grandchildren and the people that I work with? I'm trying to figure out, where's the limit? And now that they've opened Google Plus up, and like you said earlier, I'm getting all these ads, and some of them are from Australia. Some of them, I don't know how they added me. I'm sure I'm certainly not a recommended person, but I'm trying to decide, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Do I add these people to a circle? What circle do I add them to? Am I really interested and follow them? I always, before I add anybody, I always go to their page and click the About tab just to try to, but not everybody has filled out their profile enough so that you can get a really good grasp on, where they're at and what they might have to offer. So it's a huge question. So as far as backlash, I don't know. I think, if you read Who Moved My Cheese, people get upset when the cheese moves. But I'm trying to decide, where am I going to live out my social life? Is it going to be Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter? Is it going to be a combination of one or two, or just, what is it going to be? I'm just feeling really squeezed. I'm enjoying social media for a lot of different reasons, but I'm thinking, man, do I have margin for all of this?
I wish someone would invent something that would tie it all together. The way you used to be able to post something and it would go to Twitter and MySpace and Facebook. You can still do that to a certain extent. But my goodness, now with the new competition, which is great for both services, but it seems like they're evolving so rapidly that I don't see how anybody could develop anything that could truly, just have two-way communications of everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. If they did, that would be a killer app, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things, I've got Facebook groups, and I can post to that group, and everybody in that group sees it, and then they can post back to the group. With G Plus, I have a circle, and I can put a certain number of people in that circle. I can post to that circle, and they all see it. But unless they've got an identical circle where they can post back and everybody within that circle sees it. So that's one of the things I'm interested in seeing Google Plus adopt, where, for lack of a better term, maybe asynchronous or concentric circles where, when I post to a circle, somebody can reply and everybody sees the reply because they've got the same circle on their end. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm still trying to figure out everything that you can do with it. It's exciting. I mean, I love it. And Becky, you've kind of sort of got a hang for the circles, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that I can, add circles to, you're just not limited to like family, friends, or whatever. You can go in there and add, work people, or maybe you have a hobby or an interest of some sort, like biking or hiking. I'm a bicycler, so I think that would be neat. You obviously could do stuff with enthusiasts in that group, so I think that's really unique. But I see how you're saying overlapping circles. That would be pretty neat. So.
Yeah. Also, I think that one of the interesting effects of Google Plus is it's very negative for RIM, for research in motion, because if you have a BlackBerry, I think you can use a very, very limited mobile browser. It's awful. And Chris, I literally gave up my BlackBerry so that I could access Google Plus. I mean, I decided I was going to get rid of it, and then I went with Android.
You didn't give up RIM. RIM gave up on you.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's a huge difference there. Don't blame yourself, for having to make this switch. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you are blaming RIM indirectly. But I think just choice wording. I think it's more the fault of RIM for not keeping up and just falling behind it, almost in a laughable way. I mean, it's been comedy. I mean, pure comedy.
Yeah, it's sad because they were great. I used to have a Palm Trio, and it would get mail, or it wouldn't push the mail to the phone. You had to set it every 30 minutes, check for my email, and then sometimes it would, maybe a couple times a day, it would tell me if I had email. It just, ridiculous. And then I went with the BlackBerry, and boy, they did email right. I mean, they're the best. But they just stopped innovating. And then this playbook thing, Chris, I want to get your view on this. I think the whole thing about all of the different tablets, the bottom line is nobody has really come out with a tablet that is any dramatically better to not get the iPad. And if you're charging,
I've been saying that for over a year.
Why the hell are they charging?
I'm waiting.
Why if you're going to sell knockoff tennis shoes, you don't sell them for the same price as Nikes, right? You sell them for a third of the price, and then people buy them. And you can't. And
Preach to the choir, man.
But the telco subsidization thing will not work because most people buy them for Wi-Fi, and so there's you don't need a plan, and they're charging too much for the plans.
There are very few people who have that level of insight, Dan. That's very it's spot on. It's key. I've been saying it for a year. The reason why the HP touchpad sold wasn't because it was HP. Wasn't because it was a touchpad. It's because they dropped the price point to
$99.
Yeah. If you can get
a catalog, the iPad on the iPad's turf, and you can't do it. People get mad at me all the time because they take these the software and hardware like it's a religion. Like they're upset at me because Android is immature. Wait, don't get mad at me. I'm not developing it. It's not my problem. I only report what I see, and I've yet to be proven wrong. Yet.
Well, that's why we're glad you're
I'm
here.
a little excited about that, Dan.
I'm definitely not a fan of the Android. So.
Oh, you don't like Android? Why?
Don't get me started.
Oh, go ahead. Tell us why.
I don't know. I'm just way more partial to Apple and their products. I like my laptop. I like the my iPhone. I just think it has more. It's just user friendly and it works. I mean, the AT&T network that's a completely different story. I think Verizon's a lot better, works a lot faster, but I don't know. I'm just more partial to Apple products.
But she's right because remember, Chris, she said she's a non-tech geek, so Apple is better for her, right? It works. It's rock solid. I mean, Android's come a long way, but I just got on Android.
But I'm a geek. I love the iPhone. I love iOS. I love Mac OS 10. So it's for everybody.
I think it's also an ecosystem thing. If you're using Apple products like you do, Chris, you're obviously going to gravitate more towards the iOS devices. But if you're heavily integrated into the Google system, and obviously there's exceptions, you're going to be more gravitated to Android because just for an example,
Bad example. Apple is a consumer electronics company. Google doesn't know what the hell it is.
I think that Apple does this entire ecosystem thing better than Google could ever hope to do it. But I do think, in the very least, I think that for Apple products, it's an ecosystem thing.
Yeah, well, agreed.
I do think that the iPhone is more simple to use for the people that are less geeky.
Now. You know what? Some people don't need to hack everything to get it to make themselves feel better. Okay? Some people just want their product to work and look good, surprisingly enough. Unfortunately, geeks have virtually no design ethos, need, or desire to have something look good. They just want it to be functional. Unfortunately, 99.9% of the galaxy wants it to look good and run well. So the only flaw in the logic of being more comfortable with Google products would lean you more towards Android. I use Google. I love Google+. I love Google Docs. I love Picasa. I love so many things that Google does. That does not make me any more of an Android user. I could still be on Windows like my dad or my mom and still want an iPhone like my dad and my mom. So it's about a product that works. It's the ecosystem and I think that's the very accurate way to describe it, Anthony. The ecosystem is what Apple has that no other company has come close. HP almost had it. They almost had it. But, of course, we all know how that's ending.
I would say that Google's advantage in Android is the choice. Obviously, you have, hundreds, I don't know, maybe 100 devices, and you can pick a different device. If you want a 3.5-inch screen, you can do that. But if you want a 4.5-inch screen or even a 5-inch screen on your cell phone, that's your choice. If you want a 500 megahertz, cheaper end phone, you can do that. Or if you want to get a 1 gigahertz dual core device and pay more for it, you can do that.
And I find that terribly confusing, to be quite honest. I mean, when you have, and I know the new iPhone may have an A5 processor on it, but you know what? This iPhone 4 just works really great for me. And sometimes it's great to have a lot of choice, but it can be really confusing at times. And then Android phones come out just one after the other, and and they've all got these crazy names, and it's like keeping up with the names. I need a thesaurus or something, but all you got to know is iPhone, so.
Right. iPhone, you take iPhone and you go to a Wi-Fi network that uses something other than key 1 for key for the WPA or web, and it just simply does not give you the option to specify different keys. So it's simple. You might say it's simple and quote unquote it just works, but it doesn't. I mean, there's plenty of cases you can name examples where iPhone is simple beyond functionality, and that's the problem with iPhones.
Can I jump in and say something real quick? Does that work?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, my news company invested in all the Android phones, and because they simply were the best, I guess, at the time, or they thought they were the best, because they had all these cool features, and they were going to help us get live breaking reports out quicker and whatnot, and half the time they shut down and didn't function. They suck the batteries dry. I mean, they were telling us, giving us like car plugs in our news cars to plug them in. We'd be in situations where they weren't even working. So, I mean, once again, I'm more partial to the iPhone because I purchased that myself, and I actually ended up using that a lot more than I did the company phone because of all the issues I had with it. So
this is an IT department making a decision. All the companies do this. Facebook did this when they introduced all this stuff. They don't have a good QC department. I was a database programmer at Deltek Systems in like '94, and they had QC, and it was not techno geeks. It was not engineers. It was little old ladies. It was a mechanic. It was just end users, and they had to approve it and offer their feedback. And sometimes it's just things they make sense to the engineers, or it makes sense to the IT department, which naturally is going to be pro-Android because they can figure things out, and they live and eat and sleep, breathe that. But someone like Becky just wants her phone to work, and she doesn't want to have to bring a charger to go to the bathroom, and you know what I mean? So it's ridiculous. But a lot of companies don't do that. They've got great engineers, great tech people, but they don't take that extra step to make sure the user manual is in place, and that the end user, the person the Big Bird on Sesame Street. Big Bird represents the kid and makes all the mistakes, and the kid empathizes with Big Bird, and that's the role that Big Bird plays on the show. You need a Big Bird between the engineers and the end user. Maybe that's a ridiculous analogy, but
anyway, enough of the Apple holiness. They've certainly made enough of blunders on their own. I mean, Apple is definitely not a definition of what's the coolest, most functional, and the best. They've had all kinds of problems with their stuff, coming out with multiple generation iPhones with antenna gate. I mean, come on, they're definitely far from perfect. Also,
well, but those
Google
were
came out
unanticipated things. That's something the engineers should have picked up, but then it was largely how you held it or something.
And in a cell phone with the antenna being screwed up, to me, it's a major flaw. And if you're somebody like Jobs, perfectionist, and Apple who can't do anything wrong, according to all of you guys, then to me that should never come out. Okay, nor do you come out with an iPad, second generation, and you come out with a iPad that doesn't have front-facing camera. Well, maybe it was the first generation. I'm sorry, the first generation.
Yeah, first
so
generation.
They had phones that had front-facing camera.
But wait a minute. The iPad didn't need to have a camera. There's nothing wrong with an iPad.
According to whom, Chris? According to whom?
Anybody who's used it. You
Do you
can't.
need a camera in your phone?
Wait, you could easily fault, the iPad for not having a USB port. You don't need it.
Maybe you don't need it. Doesn't mean I don't need it.
Okay. Then for you, you could choose 1,000,001 other devices.
Well, you asked me this question, then.
But that's not Apple's problem.
If you don't need it in the first generation, why do you come out with it in the second generation? If you don't need it.
Have you ever heard of one thing called planned obsolescence? Every single company does that. Every single one. If you know you couldn't get enough parts for a product, why would you bother to try to send something out half-cocked? Kind of like
the antenna gate with iPhone. I got you.
No. A lot of other phones have fallen victim to the same problem. That's been proven.
That was Jobs' excuse, and it was piss poor excuse.
No, it wasn't Jobs' excuse. Actually, a few independent agencies actually called him out on it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Apple's perfect, not by any stretch. But in terms of their products, they're certainly kicking ass, and they're not.
I'm reading this one blog. Well, first of all, look at the market share of the computers. Where are they at market share of the computers?
No. Wrong question to ask.
No.
The question to ask is how much money are they making? They are the #1 PC manufacturer for premium computers. They absolutely are. They don't need to have 90% market share. They're making money. The PC marketplace is there for 1,000,000 vendors. They'd be lucky to make money. Apple could buy Dell outright. It doesn't matter how many computers Dell has on the desktop. How much money are they making?
Yeah, their market cap is like number 2, right?
They're making money. I agree.
I think they're right behind Exxon.
It's crazy.
Right.
Apple could buy Microsoft outright.
It's funny though, Chris. You're right. Yeah, it's not about desktops anymore because oil is the most traded commodity in the world. The second most traded commodity in the world is coffee. Not related to this discussion, but it's funny that the company that only has 10% of the desktop market is right behind the biggest oil company in the world in market cap.
They're making money.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't make sense to cater to the larger groups that are Dells and HPs cater to because, like you just said, they make absurd amounts of profit off of it.
And why would they want to change that model? And don't get me wrong, if the first generation iPad came with a camera, yeah, I would be happy. But you know how many times I've used that camera on the iPad 2?
You tell me how crappy is the camera on the second one?
I used it on the iPad 1. I never used the camera on the iPad.
Let's step back for a second. Look, now they came out with iPad 2. How crappy is the camera on iPad 2?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How crappy is a webcam? I mean, there are crappy webcams out there. It doesn't mean that they don't function. It functions. I mean, it's awkward to hold up any kind of notebook type of computer, a big screen with a camera. That's awkward. No one has a camera that big. You look crazy. Holding up a camera is this as big as your face? That's crazy. Honestly, because trust me, I'm a geek. I love great hardware. I love great software. Yeah. But in terms of the usage model, the camera on an iPad, it's for this kind of stuff. It's like video conferencing.
Exactly. And this kind of stuff is coming to be.
But it works
becoming more and more that kind of stuff.
It works well enough. I'm not going to be taking any award-winning shots on the iPad 2 no more, and I'm going to be taking award-winning shots on the iPhone. But it's there.
No, there's no question. They sold a ton of them. You know, the sheep mentality works in many ways.
No.
The type works and all this other stuff.
It has nothing to do with sheep mentality. It has nothing to do with that.
Absolutely.
Nothing to do with that. Come
on. The guy's an excellent marketer.
That's an ad hominem attack. You can't pull that. You can't say that every iPad owner or every person who wants to purchase an iPad is a sheep.
No, it's one of these deals where you get to the point where Chris says buy an iPad, so people buy an iPad.
No, I wish. I wish I had that power. I wish. Usually it's the opposite. If Chris said buy it, don't.
Made an image of you. Your image, Rodney Pike put together?
Yeah, but, I think, and I've said this about products and services, the ultimate form of marketing is making a good product or service. I mean, that's what marketing is. When someone sees an iPad and how smooth it works, when someone sees an iPhone and how smooth it works, they compare that against their disjointed Android experience. And of course they're going to have a disjointed Android experience. One company's controlling the service, one company's controlling the software, and another company altogether is controlling the hardware. This is the reason why a lot of PCs end up giving people headaches. This is the reason why Apple works with Mac OS X with a limited amount of SKUs. Because they don't want to have to worry about a billion different configurations. For everything that works within PCs in that world, the reason why it works there is the exact reason why it works for Apple the way they do things. And I wish another company would come along and give Apple some true competition. It hasn't happened yet.
Well, they are selling more Androids now. I think they overshot in terms of overall.
How much money? Money. You can sell 1 billion devices. How much money do they make?
Well, Chris, that's not fair. I mean, that's not fair because Google doesn't care about their.
How is that not fair?
Well, I'm going to tell you. Right, but Google doesn't care how much money their OEMs are making. They care how much money they are making on their ads.
That's correct.
And that's why it's not fair.
Hit the nail right on the head. Google is an advertising company. You know, and that's exactly what they do. Period. Stem to stern, it's advertising. It's not search. It's not web browsing. It's not anything.
Right. That's where they make all the money. Right.
For advertising.
Right.
So they don't care about OEMs. They haven't cared about them from day one. So you could have 1 billion devices out there, and that doesn't make them the best device. It just means you have 1 billion devices out there.
Obviously, Google wants the OEMs to be successful, though, because if they are not,
if one OEM dies, 15 more will spring up in its place.
But they need to have a product to be able to have those 15 take them.
Right.
There's reason all these companies try to do stuff on Androids. There's reasons for that.
And there's a reason they're failing. There's a big reason they're failing.
I don't think so.
Devices out there still doesn't make them good devices.
I think the fact that Apple is suing Samsung shows you that Samsung obviously is doing something that causes Apple some grief. So they're trying to go the back way since they can't kill them technology-wise.
Google's done lawsuits as well. Microsoft's done lawsuits. Oracle's done lawsuits. Every big company does lawsuits based on patents. Every single one of them. Not one of them is exempt.
Yeah, I don't think...
They assert patents just, for establishing market dominance, but it's more typically what you find is it's more of a game. I have these patents, you have those patents. I'll give you these patents if you give us those patents.
Or I won't sue you if you don't sue me.
Right.
The whole Apple thing, look, you can judge. I remember people used to talk about communism versus capitalism, and someone said there's the gates test. You can tell in one system they have gates to keep the people in, and in capitalism they have gates to keep people out. I think you can make a similar test. If you want to talk about Apple versus other computers, look at the retirement test. When Bill Gates retired, there were some nice documentaries from Microsoft. When the HP guy was just canned, there weren't, nobody was weeping, documentaries and stuff. Steve Jobs retires, and everyone freaks out, and everyone just feels like, wow, this is like the Pope is stepping down or something. And so they're able to do it, and they wouldn't have such a huge fan base and such loyal fans if they weren't doing something right. And their stuff largely works. It's not flawless, right? It's flawed, like everybody, but it's very good. It's very simple. It's very intuitive, and he masters the initial point I was trying to make was they know what QC is. He knows what design is. He knows what end user experience is, and their miracle is they're able to do it. And he's created these new things, new whole platforms. He didn't invent these things. I mean, the iPad was on Star Trek. It just wasn't called the iPad. But he does it better than everybody else, and he makes money doing it. Because as anybody who has ever owned a business knows, it's easy to gross revenue. Netting revenue is hard. Making a profit is a lot harder than making gross revenue.
Why they're making money on tablets. It's not that difficult to figure out why Apple is doing it, and the other people are having a hard time having a cheaper price. I mean, it's their stores. It's not anything magical or anything like that. Okay, they control the whole universe. They charge premium for it, and there is plenty of, Chris doesn't want to call them sheep. I do. People who buy the stuff because of hype.
You're saying it's because of Apple stores. You can buy them on Walmart.
I mean, there's a guy by the name of Chris, and I can't remember another Chris. The guy has a very famous blog. He's a Mac guy, big time. And then and he's got a bunch of screencasts, you know, very nice designer. And so this guy comes out with this thing one time and saying, my Mac, that's the holy magic Mac that works and does everything right, the thing got trashed. He lost the entire hard drive, his whole time machine.
Well, Apple doesn't make.
He could not get his system back. He lost everything he had. There is your Macintosh for you right there. There's one example. The things go haywire. Okay.
Like, to expect that anything is going to be perfect, that's just an exercise.
So then I don't understand why you guys are foaming at the mouth, calling it that it just works. It's so great. It's just like any other box. It fails. Okay, it's got its problems. Today, did you see the report today on Lion that they got some big Trojan deal for the Lion that screws up things all over the place?
The person has to be in front, physically in front of the computer to compromise the machine. It's not like a remote attack. It's not like you have a Trojan installed and someone gets to it remotely. Someone physically has to be at the machine.
Okay.
Some of these things are so spun completely out of control with Windows apologists like Ed Bott, who's been a puppet of Microsoft for a number of years and has spread so many mistruths it's not even funny. Come on, dude. And to expect that any technology is going to be perfect, you just can't.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly. It's not.
Who would ever argue that?
Like I said, so don't think defending it like it's something holy. It's not.
Who said it was holy?
Another box.
I brought this up. I brought this up, and it's about the user experience. Steve Jobs and his team are good at designing a user experience. That doesn't mean that all the hardware is perfect. That doesn't mean that there aren't flaws and stuff. I mean, that's the nature. A Rolls Royce can break down once in a while.
They've done tests. They put brand new people in front of a Mac OS and in front of Windows, and guess what? Mac OS did not come out on top. Okay, it's not intuitively easy.
Wait. Who did that? Was it a study paid for by Microsoft? Was it who paid for the study?
The Gates Foundation. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation determined.
Of course I'm sure I wouldn't know. But I'm just saying, you got to look at who pays for these things.
Who cares?
Otherwise, it's just hearsay.
Are you trying to tell me that Mac OS can be picked up by somebody without any knowledge at all?
What I'm saying, who could do that?
But
what
Chris,
I'm saying is,
Chris, according
inside the world of Windows your entire life, and someone hands you something that's not Windows, what do you think is going to happen?
No. I'm talking about people who haven't used anything yet.
The chances of that at this point, not very likely.
All right.
Have you seen Windows 8? I mean, golly.
All right, back to Google Plus Week.
Yes, sorry. And by the way, Oleg, I love you. I love having these conversations.
Oleg is awesome.
Hold on, I need to ask Chris a personal question first. Chris, did you see your image Rodney Pike did of you?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I sent him the photos.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
My teeth could be ice scapers.
Yeah, the guy just does some phenomenal stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, back to Google Plus for our remaining viewer. No, the chat room declared this is ridiculous. I was like, man, you can't interrupt these guys when Oleg and Chris are foaming at the mouth like that. You have to just let them go.
And don't start with the capitalism versus communism, okay?
We should just
don't call Oleg Russian guy.
Exactly.
Because he's lived in America 30 years, and damn it, you better not call me Russian guy. Don't call me Russian guy. All right. Then next up, we got a very patient caller. He's been on for 40 minutes, and he's going to talk to us. A really interesting topic. I saw we have a Google Doc that we put up, and anybody can edit it and add topics, right? And I encourage this and ask this. And he was on last week with us, and the topic is eliminating prejudice in the Google Plus community. I think that's really interesting. The philosopher Antonio, tell us what's going on.
Well, Dan, I'm really going to have to ask you to stop referring to me as a philosopher because I'm never going to be able to acknowledge that.
Okay. A muser of musings.
I guess if you would word it like that. The point of my post is there's prejudice in the world, and we can all see it. It all does terrible things, most severe and disgusting. We're not going to be able to eliminate it, but I think Google Plus, the experience of it, kind of speaks towards naturally eliminating it, is what I see. I think we should all just try to make Google Plus our own individual and unique experience, but in a way all contribute towards the notion of at least eliminating prejudice within the realm of Google Plus. And the reason is I think Google Plus has the potential to really eventually get everybody on board. And if we can make prejudice completely devoid in this realm, in this area, and everyone gets on board, then maybe we can actually make steps towards becoming a less prejudiced group of people. It's kind of like trying to combat the human condition, but why not try?
Give me some specifics on why Google Plus will be unique in that regard.
Well, what I'm saying is Google Plus is everyone's own individual experience. You know, people make it what they want to make it. And I think when people are making it as such, we should all strive towards fostering an environment of no discrimination of any sort. Trying to remove that thought from what we think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Do you think? Because I know, like Christina Trapolino, she's not here this week, but she's sort of big into that. I remember early on she was talking about the potential for societal change through Google Plus. It was like a new paradigm in social.
I think it's speaking of communism and capitalism, like we talked before. I think it's a similar kind of topic. It's not that the concept doesn't work. It's just when you're looking at this whole prejudice thing, if you make it work, how do you police something like that? I mean, there's definitely going to be people who are going to be abusing the privilege. It's always the case.
There's individual.
I'm sorry?
It's just every person has to try and adopt a no discrimination stance towards people in general.
But that's idealistic, the solution. How do you enforce that? If people don't want to do it, how do you enforce that?
Be enforced. It's just meant to be a mentality that people can voluntarily opt into, basically.
Do you think? I mean, I would think that that Google Plus is populated largely by a fairly intelligent group of folks, and I think that most folks who exhibit significant prejudice tend to be not very intelligent folks, and so I think you may not see a lot of it here, but I don't know how much of a change if you have folks. I mean, I've never seen any racist stuff or ethnic or religious humor
stuff,
on Google Plus.
I'm saying the more people that can be reached with a message like that, the better it will be.
Okay.
So
the fact that I have the capability of isolating people in circles in the first place makes me prejudiced.
Well, I guess not so much prejudice as discriminatory. That was what he was saying. But I guess in a nutshell, yeah, that makes sense.
So are you advocating for this? I mean, I guess we have to take it upon ourselves to figure out how we're going to do that. So how does a person do that, I guess I'm asking?
I think the eventual thing is, the question to ask would be, how can we use Google Plus to make the world better? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just asking it.
Yeah, I think one of the things
that I want to start with ideas, crowdsource, basically.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we all want the same sort of thing. I think it's important that once in a while we stop and we think about these things, and that we, acknowledge that sort of stuff still goes on, and even if we don't see it here, because I think it's a pretty classy, intelligent, fun, witty group that's on Google Plus largely, and I'm very impressed with it. And we see, I mean, I've met everyone in this room I've met because of Google Plus, and I've had conversations with before most of you, and I'm a richer person because of it. And I'm, I see Scott there, who was hacked. And I see Chris Pirillo, who's a national, wonderful, obviously funny and funny and smart guy. As Oleg, who I never would have met before. He's a Russian guy living in Washington, and he's a fascinating guy with a unique insight. All these folks, Bruce, it's just awesome. So I would say we're at about the point. First of all, let's go around the robin real quick here. Just any last thoughts on the new features or anything in Google Plus? You want to start at the top there, Scott? And welcome, Scott.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you great.
Okay. I agree with you, Dan, that it seems to me the more intelligent people will be the ones less likely to be prejudiced. And I kind of wonder why. And I guess two reasons. One might be that higher intelligence might mean more recognition of similarities in people. So then we would be more likely to get along, and maybe the higher intelligence people would place a higher value on getting along with more people. So then they would be less likely to see those differences. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Oh, and I do want to say something, hopefully not to incite a riot. It seemed like there were a lot of people on the side of the iPhone debate, and I just want to say something, and hopefully not froth at the mouth while I'm saying it. I've been exclusively an Android phone user. I've always purchased the highest end Android device, and I think that makes a difference. I think most of the people out there see the cheapo low-end Android devices that have about half the processing power of the current iPhones. And so you can't really make a fair comparison unless you're comparing the high-end Android devices. And all the time I have friends with iPhones who are like, wow, because I'm doing something like they ask a question and I'm like, I punch my search button and I talk into my phone and say, navigate to so-and-so's house. And then navigation, turn by turn, voice, it just starts telling me where to go. Or I could type out an email or anywhere you can type it. And the keyboard is so well integrated compared to what I've heard about iPhones. And you can use any keyboard you want. I mean, I could go on forever. There are so many ways. And, I'm not going to say that Android is better. I'm going to say I'm basically defending that it's equal, that it has, or equivalence, that it has plenty of wonderful ways it is better than an iPhone, while the iPhone, I'm sure, has plenty of wonderful ways it is better than the best
different.
Android
It's like
phones.
Facebook. It's just like Facebook and Google Plus. They're both great, and they're different, but they're similar. And the only thing is that Google Plus and Facebook are free, so all of us are on both. But an iPhone and an Android, to have both would be prohibitively expensive for most people. That's the only reason I don't have two strapped to my belt. I don't want to have to. I spend $230 for my Android, my Sprint plan, and I don't want to have to spend another $100, $150, $200 for an Apple. Otherwise, I would have one. That's the only thing. It's the cost. But they're both great in their own way, and they appeal to different.
And I want to say one
I
final
do. Yeah,
thing.
I have Android, but I have Apple too. But I don't have any other Apple. I mean, I like the iPod. Or the iPhone, but I don't have one because I don't have any other Apple stuff. So it just made sense for me to go with Android, and because largely I was interested in Google Plus, and that was the motivation for me to switch from a BlackBerry device, which is very ghetto for using Google Plus, and in other areas. And when I switched, I didn't realize what I was missing. It's like I dumped my calculator and I got my first computer when I switched from the BlackBerry to the Android. I mean, I just discovered I don't have to type stuff. I can talk it, So, like, if you're pulling a quick, sneaky texting while driving, you can just talk while driving. And I don't know if that's illegal. Yet.
Yeah, Dan, this is Harold.
Harold Carey is part of the longest Hangout, right? You still going strong, you guys?
Yeah. What's really great about this new, the Google Plus thing is on the extras. What I do up here in the documents, I can bring down my lessons that I teach the Navajo Indians and stuff like that. And with this documents, I can put up my PowerPoint shows, and I do complete shows. Nice. And I was paying $39 a month for GoToMeeting. This is going to completely kill GoToMeeting for small users like me because it has all the features of GoToMeeting with this new documents thing. I also inside Google Docs, you can put a video inside one of the presentations and show a video in there along with my Google Docs. And another thing that just came out within the last 2 hours you guys might not have heard of is Google Hangouts for the iPhone. It just came out about an hour ago, and I downloaded it on my phone. It's working. It works great. So you can actually do Hangouts now with your iPhones.
I'm surprised Oleg didn't mention that first. He follows all the great new iOS feature. I'm just kidding. I'm
Looks
picking
like
on Oleg.
Bruce. Bruce, are you hanging out with the iPhone?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. I'm hanging out on my PC right now. I did try to log in with my iPhone too, but I think once it recognizes you're in once, it won't let you come back in. But it does seem to work very well.
Oh, it won't let you. Oh, okay. You'd have to log in with a different.
Yeah, you can't be in twice.
Maybe
And
they
it only
changed but
works with the iPhones 4. When I tried to log in with my old iPhone 3, it says you must have a front-facing camera.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even see it here. I'm going to see if I can join Hangout on my phone. I'm going to try it.
I can't. I know I can't log in twice on the same account, but I am able to do that if I'm on a different account.
All right, I'm gonna. Yeah, mine's working.
There you are. We see you.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can switch. Oh my god, this is really irritating because I can hear myself back. But anyway, I'll just show. I'll do a quick shot of. I'll do a quick shot here. Of what we're doing. This is the mixing board. This is the lights. This is the lights here. We're looking at the monitor. This is the audio. Let me turn this off. All right, this is the audio here. The audio controller, and then here we have the computer I'm using with Wirecast, which is the software switcher, and then in front is the live monitor, which I'm looking at myself. Then over here we have Macintosh. He's using to be on Plus, and then straight over there on the right is the Sony Vaio onto a screensaver, which shows me what's going on with the TV thing, and that is the actual Hangout up there. So anyway, so
yeah, I've got to pull.
We're busy over here with all these devices. Hey, okay. Anybody else? Last words? We got to tie this up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got to pull out for just a minute for a mentoring life coaching call that I do on Friday nights. But, you know, the thing that Antonio, I believe was his name, was talking about the prejudice and all. Mm-hmm. I think one of the neat things about Google Plus is Facebook was built around a friend model. And so I friend all these people. And most of the people I'm friends with, you know, we think a lot alike. We agree a lot alike. We may be more politically aligned. But the thing about Google Plus that's neat is I'm meeting people that I've never met before that I don't know. And I think the community model, if I can use that description of Google Plus, is going to be a really great forum to have some real honest discussion about things. And as long as we can agree to disagree on policy and accept one another and not allow nationality or color of skin or anything else like that to get in the way, I think Google Plus has a lot of promise for becoming a forum that can broaden everybody's thinking.
And I don't think it's a forum that would tolerate the alternative.
Yeah, right. Self-policing, I think, is the way. You know, if you're on Google Plus and you see somebody acting like an idiot, I think it's our responsibility, you know, to call them out in a kind way.
Okay. Anybody else in the Hangout want to weigh in real quick? Are we good?
He said it. I did.
Okay, awesome. Okay, any final thoughts on the Blog Talk Radio? I won't say philosopher, I promise.
Yeah, he said it much better than I did.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate it. This was fun, and I'm going to mute because I gotta someone's got a speaker on. So, but listen, I want to welcome my new buddy here, Becky Graham, who's joining us from Evansville, Indiana. Was her last
stop.
Her last stop. She's a TV news reporter, and she's going to be working with us here and coming up with some new programs. She was on here tonight because she wanted to learn about, or she wanted to do a show with us, and I said, well, tonight's the Google Plus week. It's our big weekly show, gets thousands of viewers, and but she had never used Google Plus, so I said, I want you to sign up, and so she signed up last night, and then I said today, did you play with it some today? And she's like, well, I'm not done yet, so so she sat and played with it for a while and circled some folks, and I think this is great because she got to meet all these wonderful folks tonight that she would have never met other than through Google Plus. And what Google Plus is to me, and I think to a lot of folks, is it is more like real life. It's a cool place to hang out and meet interesting people on your own wavelength, and based on who you choose to follow, whether you're into NASCAR or tech or knitting or whatever philosophy. You follow people who are prominent in that, and then you look at who's following them, and then you circle them, and then you discover, wow, I'm. It's like from my living room, I can go to a NASCAR race, to the sidelines and have conversations, or I can go to other folks who are interested in whatever niche that I'm interested in, and then I meet all these cool new people I would have never otherwise met, and they're developing these wonderful tools like this, the Hangout thing, and they're getting better at it, and it's an exciting time. The internet has always been the place for innovation. It's the greatest invention in the history of humanity, but I think Google Plus really is an important thing, and it's wonderful because I met so many cool new people that I never would have otherwise met, and I'm a richer person for it. And the fact that they can do this and give it away to everybody and then monetize it by getting us to buy silly game tokens or whatever they're going to do and ads on the side eventually, I think it's great. And God bless America, and go Google, despite what Congress is beating you up for. So anyway, I want to thank you all for watching the show or for listening to the show. I'll be back Friday night. And look at our YouTube channel and look at my Plus thing for some exciting to-be-announced projects involving Ms. Becky Graham, who's over here.
Hey, by the way, 2 people circled me.
All right.
Oh,
yeah,
my first 2.
I got a feeling you're going to get a few more than 2 in the next 24 hours or so. All right. Thank you so much for watching the show tonight. I really appreciate it. Your URL, Becky, is gplus.2/RLEE. I guess it's Rebecca Lee Graham.
Mm-hmm.
R Lee Graham. And then mine is gplus.to/McDermott. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Special thanks to Chris Pirillo for lending us some of his personality for the show tonight and proving that that's he's. The reason that he has so many folks who like to hear what he has to say is a wonderful, animated, very informed, intelligent guy with an interesting outlook, and it makes it fun. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I'm Dan McDermott signing off with Becky Graham for Google Plus Week.